Buenos Aires is a horizontal grid divided into thousands of interdependent microeconomies known as consorcios. Zoom in on a single residential building and you find a closed financial system. Every unit relies on the others to fund the maintenance of the shared physical asset. When the historical debt, or morosidad, hits 15 to 25%, the standard industry response is paralysis. Managers wait for cash to accumulate and indefinitely defer necessary building maintenance. This creates an immediate penalty for the owners who pay on time. Their physical asset decays while they subsidize the shortfall of their neighbors. Chronic debt represents a systemic failure that physically destroys the building and erodes community trust. The industry operates on a diagnostic error. The misconception that a property manager's primary job is simply liquidating expenses and paying providers. Professional management requires the mindset of a patrimonial engineer. A consorcio is a complex economic entity. It requires active management of both immediate liquidity to pay today's bills and long-term solvency to ensure the building survives tomorrow. The ultimate goal of the manager is to preserve and multiply the market value of every functional unit, what we measure as CapEx, or capital expenditures, related to the long-term value of the property. A manager who passively tolerates debt to keep the peace fails their fiduciary duty to protect the property owner's collective equity. To understand why non-payment spreads, we apply the macroeconomic theory of limits to commitment, developed by Nobuhiro Kiyotaki and John Moore. They measure payment credibility using the parameter theta, represented by the Greek letter theta. This animated matrix chart maps spontaneous payment levels over time. It shows a baseline of compliant nodes, representing theta 1, or intrinsic credibility. This is the percentage of owners who pay spontaneously out of a sense of reputation and collective valuation. But theta 1 is highly contagious downwards. When compliant owners see debt going unpunished and the building deteriorating anyway, their willingness to pay collapses. The natural equilibrium of a consortio relying solely on this intrinsic conscience is total default. Here, an external barrier catches the falling trendline. This is theta 2, or extrinsic credibility. It is an institutional enforcement mechanism that operates completely independently of a debtor's goodwill. Applying theta 2 does not rely on moral appeals. It mathematically alters the potential debtor's cost-benefit analysis, making the consequences of non-payment more expensive than the act of payment. Theta 2 provides the structural wall necessary to protect the intrinsic credibility of the entire community. In this system, the administrator acts much like a central bank. They act as the ultimate endorser, injecting liquidity into a stagnant microeconomy. The property manager activates theta 2 to unfreeze dead promises and transform them into liquid capital for the building. This animation illustrates the legal anchor making this possible, the propter rem obligation under the Argentine Civil and Commercial Code, or CCCN. Notice how the debt is tethered directly to the physical apartment unit, rather than to the human owner. The specific tools of theta 2, the executive debt certificate and notarial retention upon sale, lock the unit's transferability. They funnel the retained funds directly back to the central system. Because this propter rem nature binds the debt to the asset, the effective credibility of these credits is practically 100%. It offers better financial backing than a standard mortgage. A consortio with outstanding debt sits on highly secure, real estate-backed assets that just need the manager to legally activate them. While legal execution takes its course, the building must stay funded. This requires practical assembly mechanics. This graphic shows the predictive budget formula required to prevent short-term liquidity collapse. Budget equals X divided by the result of 1 minus D. Here, X represents the real required operational expense. The D is the historical debt ratio, or mora histórica, of the specific consorcio. If the required expenses are 1 million pesos and historical debt is 20%, you divide 1 million by 0.80 to establish a required budget of 1,250,000 pesos. Compliant owners still pay their exact legal proportion of this new total. There is no discriminatory surcharge placed solely on them. The system is self-correcting. When the historical debt ratio decreases through enforcement, The subsequent budget formula automatically adjusts downward. This formula mathematically internalizes the reality of debt, ensuring the building has the exact immediate cash needed to operate today, without halting maintenance. Applying this formula requires strict, transparent accounting to prevent confusion and to satisfy Ley 941, the law regulating Consorcio administrators in Buenos Aires. This table illustrates the dual ledger exposition system required on every monthly statement. The first column is devengado, or accrued. It represents the true patrimony of the Consorcio, mapping exactly what each unit owes based on the approved budget. The second column is percibido, or collected. This logs the actual cash flow that physically entered the building's account that specific month. The difference is labeled saldo a recuperar. It explicitly marks the unpaid balance as an active, positive credit against the defaulting units. This dual ledger permanently eradicates the myth of the financial black hole. It proves to all owners that unpaid dues are verifiable, recoverable assets of the community. We have to connect this abstract math back to the tangible wealth of the property owners. An owner's asset does not stop at their front door. It includes their legal percentage of the entire building's common areas, the elevators, facades, lobbies, and security infrastructure. This chart compares a low, steady bar for preventative OPEX against unpredictable spikes for emergency repairs. Preventative maintenance is drastically cheaper. As OPEX stabilizes, the CapEx line trends upward. A maintained building significantly increases the market value of every unit. Proactive debt execution and preventative maintenance directly multiply the net worth of every owner. The TITA method requires no new legislation. It is fully operational right now under the existing Civil and Commercial Code and Ley 941. The only missing piece is the institutional will of the Assembly to officially vote for the budget adjustment formula. The Assembly must explicitly record in the minutes their backing of the manager's unrestricted right to execute extrinsic credibility through executive certificates and notarial retentions. This Assembly vote serves as a binding structural commitment to the building's survival. A building gains real, tangible value when a professional manager engineers, protects, and multiplies patrimony instead of merely tracking expenses.